Hey you guys, Colleen Riddle here. All right, we're gonna try this again since yesterday my internet went out of the blue when I was trying to do a live feed. So today I wanna talk to you guys about 6 reasons why you might be gaining weight or why maybe you just cannot lose weight. I was reading an article the other day and it spurred some thoughts in my head and I wanted to share them with you. So I made some notes here in front of me and there's 6 ways and 6 reasons. Some of them are very obvious, but some of them you may not realize are holding you back and you're holding on to the weight. So the first one is pretty obvious. You know, how is your diet? Are you eating overly processed foods? Are you eating really high calorie foods that aren't nutrient dense? So there's a big difference between high calorie foods that have a lot of nutrients, like for example, an avocado, very high in calories, but very good fats, good nutrients in there, versus French fries. Okay, see the difference? So start paying attention to what you're putting in your body. Try to stay away from processed foods, you know, hot dogs, things like that, chips, white things, white bread, anything that's processed, and try to stay away from the really heavy laden sweets. You know, my favorite thing, if you want something sweet, have some good real dark chocolate that will satisfy that sweet tooth and you're not eating a lot of processed foods. So one reason is you might just be eating too many high calorie processed foods. So another reason is you might be drinking your beverages. You might be drinking your calories in your beverages, I should say. Check how much sugar is in the beverages you're drinking. You know, sweet tea, those of my good friends in the South. I know a lot of people that love their sweet tea and they think they're doing great because they got rid of sodas. They got sodas out of their life, and I was just talking to a client the other day and said, "Oh, Colleen, I'm not doing my sodas anymore." I'm like, "Awesome." And she was telling me what she had for lunch, and she said, "Yeah, you know, I had a salad and I had sweet tea." And I was like, "Hold on, there's so much sugar in sweet tea." So just pay attention, and if you're getting a mocha frappa something at the local Starbucks, that's loaded in sugar and calories as well. So start paying attention to what you're drinking and the empty calories. You know, orange juice, any sort of juices like that. It's better to have an orange instead of orange juice, or an apple instead of apple juice. So just start paying attention to that part. All right, so number 3, how are you doing on your sleep? This is a big one. Sleep is a big one. So pay attention. Are you getting less than 7 hours of sleep a night? If you are, that can really mess with your metabolism. It can impair your metabolism. You wake up the next day. How many of you have gone on low sleep and the next day it's like you cannot eat enough? It's like you're constantly hungry, right? It's those hormones in your body get all messed up when you haven't had your sleep. Lack of sleep also leads to cortisol in the belly, which leads to belly fat. So sleep is huge. So really pay attention to that. And, you know, if you can go to bed just a little bit earlier, I just highly recommend. That's one hidden thing that a lot of people don't realize, how important sleep is to their health, but also to their weight loss. Your hormones can get really jacked up if you're not getting enough sleep. So pay attention to your sleep. So that's tip number 3. Tip number 4, okay, how you doing on alcohol? So any of you who know me know I love my wine. So I always tell people, I'm not going to tell you not to drink, but it can be a lot of empty calories. So, you know, maybe you really shifted your nutrition, but you haven't cut back on your drinking. So pay attention to that. And my tip that I gave y'all before for Memorial Weekend was, for every alcoholic drink you have, make sure you have water. That way you're staying hydrated and it slows you down a little bit. So just again, I'm not going to tell you not to drink. I would be a hypocrite for that, but just moderation. And, you know, speaking of alcohol, choose, you know, stay away from the sugary ones. Like stay away from the margaritas. I know you guys are going to hate me, especially my friends in Texas that love their margaritas. Once I learned how many calories were in a margarita, I have not had one since. A margarita can have up to like 800 calories in it with all those sweetened things. So if you are going to get a margarita, just get what they call a skinny margarita, but not with the artificial sweeteners. Stay away from the daiquiris and all those heavy sugary alcoholic drinks. So I could probably do a whole live feed on alcoholic options. I love my red wine. So pay attention to your alcohol intake, empty calories there. So another reason that you may not be losing weight or you may be gaining weight is how much TV are you watching? This was a really interesting stat to me. I wrote it down. 60% of Americans watch 2 hours or more of TV a day. And so not only are you sedentary when you're doing that, but what happens when you're sitting and you're watching a good show? You start mindlessly eating, right? That's when the snacks come out. That's when you're not really paying attention. You're sucked into a good show or a good movie and you start just snacking away without paying attention to what you're doing. So pay attention to how much TV you're watching. You know, hopefully by now you're using like DVR or something like that. If I do watch any TV, I DVR it so I can at least, you know, make the most of it, fast forward. But just pay attention to how much TV you're watching because that can end up with mindless eating, empty calories, all of that. It can be a tunnel you can spin down. So, and then the last reason you may not be losing the weight is kind of ties in with the TV, is just your inactivity. You know, there's so many people spend all day sitting at their desk, inactive and, you know, hunched over like this. So if you're inactive during the day, just lose it. Okay, it just buffed out for a second. If you're inactive during the day and you're not exercising, that's a double whammy. So I actually have another idea. I'll do another live feed for ideas of how to get your body moving if you are stuck at a desk all day. All right, so those are the 6 things that can kind of be, some are hidden, some are not so hidden. A recap of why you might be gaining weight or not losing the weight. Your high calorie foods, processed foods, your sugared beverages, really pay attention to that. Just start taking an intake if you haven't been aware of that. Number 3 was too little sleep. That one's a hidden one. Many people don't know that that can really wreak havoc on you. Number 4, overuse of alcohol. Number 5, too much TV. And number 6, inactivity. So you may be saying, well, gosh, Colleen, thanks for the good news. Well, how about we combat that? So what are some behaviors that you can combat those things? Well, number 1, how's your stress management? What are you doing in your life to manage the chaos of the day? Because some days, you know, you just want to pull your hair out. You're pulled in so many different directions. We're overstimulated, over iPhoned, over text. You know, we're just bombarded with information all day. So how are you managing your stress? Find an outlet for you to have stress management. That could look like reading. That could look like meditation. It could look like exercise, yoga, whatever it is. Take some quiet time for yourself and figure out a way for you to deal with stress management. Because again, when you're stressed, we're raising those cortisol levels in our bodies and it wreaks havoc on us. So that's step number 1 for combating this. Step number 2 is avoid a diet of too much processed food. So I mentioned that that was one of the problems. You know, try to stay away from too much processed packaged foods, the chips, you know, the fried foods, and too much red meat. You know, red meat's not bad, but just pay attention to how much you're eating it. I was talking to someone the other day and, you know, they have red meat like 5 times a week. It's a little too much. So pay attention to that. Step number 3. So if you're drinking the sugary beverages, like I said, replace it. So replace it with a better option, you know, replace it. Obviously, water's the best option. But, you know, maybe the green tea, that's a great option. Just make sure if you're drinking green tea that it's just green tea. I picked up something the other day in the grocery store and it was green tea, but then it had all this added sugar. So just if you're somewhere where you can read a label, read a label. I am going to do a training on that of how to read a label, really digging down. So replace those sugary drinks with water, even some club soda and some lime if you need something bubbly, some Perrier, something like that. So step number 4 goes along with the sleep. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. You want to shoot for at least 7 to 8 hours. That's when our body just really gets into that REM cycle and you wake up refreshed. You know, and I'll give a plug here as far as stress management. I don't know where you live in the world, if you have a float spa, but last week I went to Float Brothers Float Spa here locally. Look into a float spa, you guys, if you have one near you. Google it. It's amazing. You literally decompress. I did 90 minutes, but you can do it for an hour, and total stress relief. It's amazing. So look that up. That's the number 1 for stress management. So number 5, to combat this behavior of this weight gain or not losing weight, exercise. You know, I talked last week about how to exercise by doing full body movements and by doing interval work. So those two keys, as you exercise, will have you more success. All right, so make sure you're getting your exercise in. And then decrease that amount of television watching. So I know we all have our favorite shows and things we like to watch, but really pay attention to that, because especially if you're sitting all day and then you go home and sit on the couch and park it, we've got to move our bodies. Our bodies are made for movement. And then the 7th thing is to moderate your alcohol. So those are just kind of the opposites of what you may, you know, why you're holding on to the weight gain or why you're gaining weight. So those are just some overall tips. Hopefully maybe a light bulb went off like, I never thought of that before. But a lot of it is just things you know. It just needs to be brought up. So that's why I wanted to come to you live, just share some of that. If you have any questions, you can type them in there. I'm going to try to be coming to you live at least once a week, maybe twice a week. So if you have any topics you want me to cover, let me know that too. I want to be a resource for you for your health and wellness and nutrition. And this is what I'm passionate about. So I wanted to spend some time with you guys today. So thank you so much for joining. And until next time, leave a message of what you want me to talk about next. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.